I want to talk to you today about a dive way deeper into possible school records that you can look at, especially if you're looking at things prior to about 1970 for your family. After that, the records and the things available change a little bit, but not a lot. Uh, I'm aiming today at the request of a person to talk about some more rural districts, or, I would define Montana as primarily rural, especially before the 70s, because we maybe had 700,000 people in the state total at that point. So, my topic today is a deep dive into school records, looking at clerk's books, teacher registers, oaths of office, and other fun things that can get you lots for your genealogy. First of all, I should tell you that most of these official school docs that you're going to see are they're somewhat standardized across states, especially beginning about the 1920s and the 1930s. Before that, you might find them a little different, but you are going to find things like the district clerk records, including all of the meetings, et cetera. You're going to find teacher registers because states and school districts had to have some means to be able to collect information about the money that they dispersed. So today we're going to find family information in official school documents like school district official records, the district clerk's record book, and that one followed state laws with a template for ongoing reports. It still does. And each book may continue across several years depending on the size of the district. But when we talk about a district that has less than 1,000 kids, I'm going to go for it and say that I think that they're still contained and they can still go across ongoing years. Another official record we're going to look at today is the teacher's register. If I taught in a middle school or a high school, I'd be calling it the teacher's grade book, and it would be somewhat confined in terms of things that would be there. But it is something kept by each individual teacher. It's templated, meaning there are pieces of information that are required, and they provide a space for those. And you are trained as a teacher to keep those records. And then we'll look briefly, at least right at the beginning, at what I call the loose oath records. That is, they're single pieces of paper regarding the oath taken by the school clerk, the oath taken by district school board trustees, for example. I don't have one for teachers, but we do take one, at least formally, when we actually get our teacher's license. And we'll look right at the beginning at some local histories also. So let's look at what you can find in local or county histories. I brought up this nice, cute little picture of a book called A Light at the End of the Canyon, which records the history of Monarch, Montana, out here in Cascade County. It includes just a plethora of things because it had to be an all-in-one. Monarch was a small town, even in its beginnings. And so if we were going to record what happened in the past, those people had left and gone on maybe to another mining venture or whatever. So this one includes lists of burials. It has a list of all the known businesses up to about 1980, 1975, 1980. And of course, it's got family histories. But here's another place for you to look for school records because they went into the Cascade County Superintendent's office and found the school censuses, and they published the names of known teachers and students and even some pictures. I'm going to show those in a second. This is really nice, but I'll tell you, it is not the end all be all. We have, for example, for Monarch, the actual years in which these students attended, not just an alphabetized list of all of these students. As you will see here, where you see a list of school-aged children for Belt Park School, which is one of the schools in the area of Monarch. And the list is very nice. They also have a list of teachers from 1916 until the closure of that school in 1946. And Those are nice when you don't have other records. They also have Kibbe School District 12, which is in the area there, and Swan School District number 41, which is in the area. So when we look back at these, it's great to get the pictures. Don't get me wrong. It's really nice to see the data that they do have because they can tell you the teachers and the years they actually taught, at least from 1916 forward. But they still have a lot of other information, which if you know where to go get it, and the school or the county rightfully, because they're supposed to retain it, have kept these records and made them available someplace, not necessarily in their very own county archives, but maybe at the local historical society, or in our case, at the genealogy library. There's more available. For example, there are things like this. If I were a relative of Marlene Zahara, who lived out at Cascade, I would be tickled pink to have her certificate of appointment of her clerkship for the school district on April 12, 1982, along with the actual signatures of the 3 trustees who have elected her to that position. This really has neat genealogical uses. It's official evidence of a person's position, including the length of the term. And a clerk like this is actually a hired clerk. You must have at least a high school education and some training, or be willing to be trained to the position. So it's nice evidence, and it's a neat way to see an ancestor's signature, an indirect evidence of citizenship, at least in the case of the trustees, by the way. So when you're thinking of pieces of evidence that you can use in proving certain things, think of this one as a pretty neat one. You'll get her signature here on her oath of office with the person, followed by the signature of the person who administered the oath. And Helen Hagen was in the county office in Great Falls, came out to do that. Note the trustees' signatures on another document for Gladys Hughes. I'm going to tell you, in these small school districts, get used to the fact that there's sometimes way more than 3 trustees, especially if they have subsumed other districts. In the case of school district number 3 here, there are 6 people who signed on for district number 3 for that certificate of appointment of Gladys Hughes as clerk. And you'll see another person signing off for her. So those things are available. I can tell you we have them for Cascade County. It's been probably 20 years since I went out and talked to all clerk and recorders in the state. They have an organization, and I was invited to speak before them. I brought boxes of materials, and they said, "Oh, we have those. I didn't know what to do with those." Sometimes if somebody gets elected or somebody has taken over that position as a superintendent of schools, and it's over now in the clerk and recorder's office most familiarly, then you're going to want to ask, and you may have to say, what do you have in the basement? What have you had to retain that you might not know about? But they are available. Here's the certificate of election for a trustee, Ed Lloyd. His actual name is W. Ed Lloyd, out in district number 4, I believe in maybe in Cascade, Montana. The document got archived at the county level when you're looking for those things. So finally, those do get archived. They don't stay with the local school. But you get these offices, you get all kinds of things. But let's talk about the school district clerk's book, a very, very important thing. This record book, especially early on and up through the early 70s, contains just a magnificent bunch of stuff. There will be an opportunity for the school district to map their school site within the county township location, and you'll find that right inside the book. It's really usually fun because it might be a dot on actually a township map and that's about it. But they are compelled, and the clerk has the duty of finding that precise place within the township record and locating that at least once at the front of the book. When they go to a new book, they do it again. There are copies of the school census across the years of the clerk's record in these early books. And so you've got another opportunity to actually look at that school census that was done each October. Remember, there's also probably a list at the county level for all of the school districts in that county. There's a list of clerks and the trustees appointed across spans of years. There's minutes. The minutes will be brief. There's a copy of the trustees' annual report to the community and county. There's budgets per year. Those were pretty important because trustees started out and each one developed their own budget. Then they got together and squared that away so that there was one budget for the school, which met the requirements, meaning the amount of money that they had coming in. There are teachers and principal contracts and teacher experience levels that are there, certificate levels. So there's all kinds of things for you if you have educators who are ancestors or in your family. I know one family came in here and traced their Aunt Agatha across 3 districts where she taught. And it was a fun experience as they saw how she gained in experience. They would never have known that if they hadn't looked at the teachers' registers that were available. So let's look at some of these things in the clerk's books. Here's a list of the election or appointment of school trustees through the year, their number of years that they served, whether they were elected or appointed. And an appointment would occur when somebody had to leave and they resigned the position of school trustee, and then the trustees in a formal meeting appointed someone else. And so you'll also see the name of the clerk that was appointed during that particular time for these people. Over at the far left, there's just a little bit of a thing where you can see that this is 1915 through about 1920, showing that these go across many years. School censuses are taken each fall, 1 copy to the county superintendent, 1 copy retained in the school clerk's record forever, which is cool. Remember, it has the kids, their surnames, their first names, their ages, their birth dates, the parents or guardians, their addresses. It's been used by genealogists, of course, for their genealogy, but it's also used in courts of law to verify birth or to verify the delayed birth certificate asked for many years later when a person is attempting to get into Social Security. It's used to verify names and ages for various kinds of things. So it's very, very useful. Don't forget where these exist. You should have this in your copy of things that I've given you today. This is a school census report for fall, I believe, of 1913 at Nyhart Public Schools in Cascade County. And this one holds many years. So you've got all those things available to you again. And I'll show you one more place in a teacher's register in these little schools where you also have it available again. Remember, our district clerk book is state mandated, just like other states. I'm showing you Montana stuff today because that's what I have, but you are going to find this in many states. When you go into a clerk's office, please be very nice and respectful as you ask for these, and expect that they may have to do a real dig to find some of these things. Here's that neat township drawing. I'm just showing part of a township, but you can see the drawing down there kind of in the grids down lower. The line drawing and the darkened square in the middle of this grid tells exactly where this school is located. It happens to be, I think, either Monarch or Nyhart School. Here's another thing you can do with this. If you've got the total township map available to you in this book, you can also use the homestead records at Glow Records, and using that, you can locate your ancestors' record here and see how far they were from that school. Well, the clerk's book also summarizes annual statistics that are used and sent in to the county superintendent, who then again takes all of the schools for a particular county and summarizes those annual statistics and sends them on to the state superintendent of schools. There's children recorded, at least in number, ages 6 to 21, kids under the age of 6 by gender, children ages 6 to 16 who are not in school. This is where the school district was compelled to kind of tell on people who had never entered their kids in school, so at least people knew that they were there. Remember, uh, school districts counted on this body count, as I call it, for the amount of money they got. There's also a place to record those kids ages 16 through 20 to their 21st birthday who are not in school and they had not graduated from high school, but also those who had, and kids who at 16 above who could not read and write English. Prior to 1940, that one was a really important thing as they tried to do get an idea of did a district have a need for a night school or sometimes when people could come in to learn to read and write English if they were 16 to 21. The number of days actually taught in that school. This took in, when a district had to call off school due to something like sicknesses or snow days or whatever. Number of teachers by gender. Were the teachers normal school grads or college school grads by number? Teachers who only had a 2-year prep, teachers with a 3-year prep, indicating they were moving on and would soon be college grads. Textbooks owned, in number at least, the number of library books owned, and actually the number of schools within that district in a particular year. Sometimes you could have small school districts like school district number 57 out by St. Peter's Mission. St. Peter's Mission was actually a private school, but right around it, at times, there were 2 to 3 schools and up to 6 schools in some small isolated areas, all of them under one school board. And all of them, by the way, having to share the same library books. That wasn't fun, Dean. Oh, so the clerk's book also contains minutes of a board meeting. Here's one, April 7, 1915. At a regular meeting of school trustees of District 35, there were present trustees Isaac Mayer and Tony Fowler. So one is missing. The returns from the school election of April 3rd, 1915 were canvassed. It was found that there were 8 votes cast, of which Isaac Mayer received 8 votes for a 3-year term. Tony Fowler got 8 votes for a 2-year term, and Dick Heidmich got 7 votes for a 1-year term. The candidates were declared duly elected for this respective term and at once took the oath of office. There being no further business for that one, the meeting was adjourned. E.A. Shaw, clerk. You'll always see these. And all of these minutes for board meetings are always available. They are open to the public. This is an opportunity for you to find out about your community-spirited ancestor who joined a school board, or maybe to see a woman school board member actually before they could vote in general elections later on in the 1920s. They could, however, be on school boards or work as a clerk. Here's Nyhart Schools in 1914 and 1915 with the money that they had and the taxes coming in. So those things are available. It gives you context about the local school district instead of saying, well, my ancestor had a father who was a miner and he attended Nyhart School for 1 year in 1916. There's way more there. There's an annual report of receipts and disbursements, which will also help you with context. Amounts given from the county and from the state and from a special tax for the general fund if you happen to have one in your area, and the balance actually on hand, because remember, you can't spend more than what you have. So They might be telling you that their payments out were salaries of teachers, not including the principal. And the teachers got made collectively $656, and the principal made a little over $1,000 in that year. There's another place in the book that tells you year by year who taught, what the beginning of their contract was, the ending, the grade they had of their certificate. Were they a secondary certificate? Did they have a lifetime certificate for these early years? Did they have a class 2, a class 1, whatever? Because every one of these grades of certificates could only be gained by taking tests and having the tests certified by the county superintendent of schools. Today, routinely, when teachers receive their professional teaching certificate in Montana, it must be immediately registered in the county in which they are teaching. This tells you the length of experience that people had. Mr. Burgundy had 171 months of experience at the beginning of 1942, and his experience counted in for him as a combined, I believe, superintendent and principal there for an annual salary of $2,500, and it was his first year of teaching in the district. So it's going to tell you how long someone's been there. Looks like one person had been there for at least 8 years, another for 6 years, most of them for 1 year, however, or they were just starting. You can see the monthly district of who got paid what by name. So this is going to be interesting to you. If you are the janitor, or you're one of the teachers, or you're the teacher principal in a district, and this is a different district, by the way, not the one I just showed you. So there's a variety of things that you can look at here. The drayer got paid $1, hauled something in there, because that's what a drayer was. A supplier gave them something else in supplies and got $16.75. The coal hauler, Redden and Lead Belter, got $33 for their coal. The 1942-1943 trustees annual report at Cascade Public Schools, and remember, we're now just really in the first full year of World War II. And so they're showing their annual balance sheet, showing their compliance with school funds obtained. And this is more context for your family. How were they doing during this? What did they do? How did they need to modify things as they didn't get the money they needed? You'll also find frequently a budget for a particular term, and it will show you the Board of Education and the superintendent. Let's move on to the educators in your family tree. They may be principals, they may be superintendents. Most likely, as in my family, they were the teachers who were there. They might have been aides in schools, various people. You can use their teacher register to trace your teacher ancestor or principal or whatever across school districts. You can get information about the teacher colleges or the preparation units that they attended. Out in our area here, people frequently attended the Great Falls or the Belt School or, for example, the Lewistown actual prep schools in the high schools, and then had summer school close by. Many teachers also went down to Dillon, Montana, and attended our state normal college at that point. And as more colleges gain normal school status, like Bozeman, like Missoula, various places, you'll see that they could have attended there also, Billings, whatever. You'll gain knowledge about their continuous training because it will tell you in number of months that they have actually worked. Remember, you can train while you work, and also the training that they received. It'll identify the length of service within that particular county, and from that you can even investigate possible home ownership. I found it fascinating in Cascade County to see so many women teachers who taught, and nearby they also had a homestead, which they successfully got. So you can note their contract, and you can note their raises that they got as they moved up the ladder. This is what a teacher's register looks like. If you come into our library, I'm happy to show them. There are many other places I'm sure that have them also. These got turned into the county superintendent at the end of the school year. Frequently, the trustees would keep them if they knew that the person would be coming back, but sooner or later, within a few years, they came into the county and they were cached there, archived there. So each teacher kept a record of their own background for the year starting the school year, that particular school year, the school day schedule, their students listed separately, boys first, then girls separately on another thing. And for each of those student sections, there was an attendance section, a grade section. So you can get kind of an idea. Most of them I've seen are pretty sparse. You'll get an idea of the people who visited school. Maybe it's your parents. Maybe it's the school superintendent or the superintendent of schools for the entire county coming out to evaluate the teacher for a particular day. You'll get an idea of the kids who got promoted and the state tests taken by 7th and 8th graders and who took the tests. You will not necessarily see who passed the tests, but you will see a list of people who tentatively were going to go to Great Falls if they were out in Belt or Cascade, and came into Great Falls to take that particular test, which many times was given twice a year. For students who were ready, there was a December test, and you could enter high school then if you passed that. A teacher's report in a teacher's register. I've given you at least one of these in your handouts today. I believe I gave you one from Macomber School for Ada Giannini. And I may have given you the beginnings of this one for Mrs. Stetson that you can see here in district number 4, just to give you an idea of what they were asked to fill out. There were 3 copies of this. They left one in the book. They gave one to the county superintendent, usually take it to the school superintendent through a trustee, the chairman of the trustees or whatever. Send only one page. It says, now always keep page 9 completely filled out in the register. That's this one, I believe. So it'll tell you all kinds of things, not only what grade they hold in a certificate. This teacher happens to hold a grade 1 issued in Cascade in June of 1920. And it says, is it registered with the superintendent of the county in which you're teaching? You don't have to answer that unless issued in another county. Well, she's had it here before, so she didn't have to answer it. How many months had she taught? 160 months. Divide that by those years and see what's there. She did not answer the high school graduated or the college, but she said she has been taking an educational paper, the normal instructor, and she has been working. I would suspect this person has completed or is working as a teacher because she has completed at least the 2-year certificate, frequently taught right in the last 2 years of the public high school nearest them. It'll also ask all kinds of neat things. If you're looking at your things, it'll ask them, do you have a lock and key on your desk? What kind of a blackboard do you have? And this one says slate. How many square feet of blackboard do you have? That was a biggie, because if you didn't have enough for blackboard work, you couldn't set up that blackboard work before school each day so that you had blackboard time for each class. Is there a globe, a dictionary, an international dictionary, a Montana map, other maps that you need to teach a particular subject, encyclopedias, square feet of floor space, how many square feet of window space, all kinds of things in here, what things need to be repaired and so on, so that they're not just depending on school trustees to do the repairs, but depending on a report from teachers to highlight the fact that repairs need to be there. So you're going to get a lot of context from this kind of report. I hope that you have family members who are teachers and that you seek these out. You'll get another chance to see a different kind of school census. These are the kids who are actually in school, and their names are, of course, in the teacher's book. What you're seeing here is the place where it gives, and I'm just going to show you boys only. There are bunches of them in here. Different grade levels are there, and grade level is what's different that you'll get from this context that you would not get from a school census. Their age is there, the names of their parents or guardians are there, and an address. So it's going to give you a teacher's viewpoint and the class or grade that the student has been assigned to for the year. But it's another opportunity to find these kids and find their parents or guardians. Interestingly, if you look at, again, a school census, remember the school census says who's the dad or the male, and a female or guardian is in the second place. That's a kind of an interesting thing. This is an opportunity. If your mom was a teacher, how did she spend her day at school? Well, this is her opening exercises with a flag salute, a health inspection, whatever that was, and then classes. I've given you one of these, I believe, in your report, and so you will have that also that you can look at. But this gives you an idea of what the school day looked like. Look at those phonics classes, those projects, those arithmetic classes going on while other kids were doing board work and so on. This gives you a little more with it, when did that begin? And for class one, what were they doing during that particular time at from 9 o'clock to 9:40? For class one, they were doing reading workbooks and sentence building, it looks like. And so you can see various things that are going on here in the class. Remember, classes were generally first grade through eighth grade or whatever they had. Here's another person's program for recitations, which had to remain in the book. This one doesn't tell you nearly as much as the other, but it will give you an idea of what is going on during that class time through 3:45. And this person has classes A, B, C, D, E, whatever they were. Are they grades 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? We don't know unless we look at another part of this book. The school term report for Macomber School, which is the oldest school for which we have records in Cascade County, is here in 1937 and 38. And you do have a handout called Macomber School. You can look at that. This is the term report to the county superintendent and the district clerk made by the teacher, not by the board. There's an opportunity for the board to do this in a different way, but the superintendent was able to get varying perspectives by being able to look at these reports. It looks like this teacher at Macomber had set a total of 17 students enrolled. I've just shown you a couple of things in front of you. No cases of corporal punishment known, no cases of suspension or expulsion, and one eighth grader got a diploma. Come in and see these if you'd like to in our library, or better still, go down and take a look within your counties and see what you can find. I've shaved the names of the kids off on what would be the left side of this report so that I'm not giving you student names, but in the teacher's register at the very back, you're likely to find a report to the successor teacher on each student. There were all of these students, as you see. It says, this one says ready for A class 6, A class 7, C class 3, and so on, all the way down. Unless we know how the teacher has defined those things, we could not tell what they were. But I can tell you they were not necessarily consistent across counties. And These were the notes for the next class placement, at least to help that successor teacher. The activities for the school year are there. They have to be listed. What did you do for the kids as a teacher? We had a Halloween program and a party. There was an MEA convention. There was a Christmas art exhibit, a Christmas program, a Valentine Day observance, Pioneer Day observance, Lincoln Day program, a Washington Day observance, both of those pretty close together, Arbor Day, which was required in all schools, K-12, or well, 112 in the state, parent visiting days, Roundup Day at Sims, so this is probably Cascade, could be, and school debates that were held. So this gives the county superintendent and the trustees an idea of things that have gone on in the school, opportunities then for kids and for their parents and the community at large. Did your ancestor visit the school or help at the school? Here you can see at the very back just a short list. Most of them are pretty long of school visitors kept in the back of the register, made by the teacher, date and visit, and the visitor's name recorded. I'm not going to guarantee that every visitor got recorded. I hope they did. This would include parents. It could include community members. It would include at some point the county superintendent of schools. It's just an excellent resource again to see your aunt, Mrs. L. Heyman, as a school visitor at least a couple of times in September, right at the start of school. I've given you some blank sheets before that have shown you some annual summaries that remain in a school. This one happens to be from the 1960s at Macomber School. And not long after this annual enrollment, you can see that because they only have 6 kids total, they soon were not able to hold school. They did not have enough students retained for the next year. And so the permanently kept files here are in the teacher's register, turned into the county superintendent, and we can see what Macomber School looked like at the beginning of school on August 31, 1960. So clerk's books and teacher registers and oaths of office and those budgets and those minutes will give you an opportunity to find student and parent information galore. I find them fascinating, especially the teacher information where we get great background on what the teacher says he or she has for experience and what they're doing with their education. This is something that is very hard to find sometimes. Maybe you only find your aunt's diploma from the Billings Normal College or from Dillon, and you won't realize what that really took to get, because that person may have started out as a 2-year person teaching and had to go to school every summer and every opportunity they could to finally get that diploma. I know my mother-in-law worked many, many years to get hers before she got it, and certainly it was a centerpiece in her office. But this information is way more interesting in many ways because you get information about that particular teacher. Don't forget the school information you're going to get that will add context if you're trying to talk about what did kids do at this school? What did the school day look like? What was their curriculum? How much time did they really get to spend on science or on social studies or on free reading time? What were the district sanctioned activities that they made sure they did? I know up in my little community where I attended a small school at Ferndale, 29 kids in all the year that I left. One of the major school events was at the end of the year. I called it track day, but it was way more than that. We actually got also an opportunity to participate in a spelling bee, Math B, all kinds of things. And you got ribbons for that. Uh, and it was fun besides, and you had a picnic. So you have opportunities to identify your ancestor as a school visitor, as a school helper, as a school picnic attendee, maybe somebody just coming in to help for the day, or maybe in the case of my school out at Ferndale, you'll see all those people who participated, even though they did not have kids in school, they gave actual groceries and food items to the local school food program. And that's another thing that I didn't even touch on today, but you will see that. It's very, very interesting to see what happens when a district, even today, for example, decides that they want their kids to eat local beef. And so arrangements are made so that the beef that is purchased is local and it is named as so. So you're going to get an opportunity to gain community perspective for the particular time period. And I hope you're just as fascinated as I have been by these registers and records because they will really tell you a lot. They're going to tell you way more than the school census, although I happen to think that's a pretty hot item because again, it's a year-to-year census. These are going to let you know when kids came into and came out of a school district. Uh, and when families came in and went out. Uh, so I hope you have enjoyed looking at these items as much as I have.